He said he was sad sometimes that he had no children. But I'm glad in a way, too, he went on. I mean, why should I contribute to overpopulation? Dwayne didn't say anything. Maybe we should have adopted one, said Harry, but it's too late now, and the old lady and me, we have a good time just horsing around with ourselves. What do we need a kid for? It was after the mention of adoption that Dwayne blew up. He himself had been adopted by a couple who had moved to Midland City from West Virginia in order to make big money as factory workers in the First World War. Dwayne's real mother was a spinster schoolteacher who wrote sentimental poetry and claimed to be descended from Richard the Lionhearted, who was a king. His real father was an itinerant typesetter who seduced his mother by setting her poems in type. He didn't sneak them into the newspaper or anything. It was enough for her that they were set in type. She was a defective childbearing mother. She destroyed herself automatically by giving birth to Dwayne. The printer disappeared. He was a disappearing machine. It may be that the subject of adoption caused an unfortunate chemical reaction in Dwayne's head. At any rate, Dwayne suddenly snarled this at Harry. Harry, why don't you get a bunch of cotton waste from Vern Gar, soak it in blue Sunoco, and burn up your fucking wardrobe? You make me feel like I'm at Watson Brothers. Watson Brothers was the name of the funeral parlor for white people who were at least moderately well-to-do. Blue Sunoco was a brand of gasoline. Harry was startled, and then pain set in. Dwayne had never said anything about his clothes in all the years he'd known him. The clothes were conservative and neat, in Harry's opinion. His shirts were white. His ties were black or navy blue. His suits were gray. Or dark blue. His shoes and socks were black. Listen, Harry, said Dwayne, and his expression was mean. Hawaiian Week is coming up, and I'm absolutely serious. Burn your clothes and get new ones, or apply for work at Watson Brothers. Have yourself embalmed while you're at it. Harry couldn't do anything but let his mouth hang open. The Hawaiian Week Dwayne had mentioned was a sales promotion scheme which involved making the agency look as much like the Hawaiian Islands as possible. People who bought new or used cars or had repairs done in excess of $500 during the week would be entered automatically in a lottery. 3 lucky people would each win a free, all-expenses-paid trip to Las Vegas and San Francisco and then Hawaii for a party of 2. I don't mind that you have the name of a Buick, Harry, when you're supposed to be selling Pontiacs, Dwayne went on. He was referring to the fact that the Buick division of General Motors put out a model called LeSabre. You can't help that. Dwayne now patted the top of his desk softly. This was somehow more menacing than if he had pounded the desk with his fist. But there are a hell of a lot of things you can change, Harry. There's a long weekend coming up. I expect to see some big changes in you when I come back to work on Tuesday morning. The weekend was extra long because the coming Monday was a national holiday, Veterans Day. It was in honor of people who had served their country in uniform. When we started selling Pontiacs, Harry, said Dwayne, the car was sensible transportation for school teachers and grandmothers and maiden aunts. This was true. Perhaps you haven't noticed, Harry, but the Pontiac has now become a glamorous, youthful adventure for people who want to get a kick out of life. And you dress and act like this was a mortuary. Look at yourself in the mirror, Harry, and ask yourself, who could ever associate a man like this with a Pontiac? Harry LeSabre was too choked up to point out to Dwayne that no matter what he looked like, he was generally acknowledged to be one of the most effective sales managers for Pontiac, not only in the state but in the entire Middle West. Pontiac was the best-selling automobile in the Midland City area, despite the fact that it was not a low-priced car, it was a medium-priced car. Dwayne Hoover told poor Harry LeSabre that the Hawaiian Festival, only a long weekend away, was Harry's golden opportunity to loosen up, to have some fun, to encourage other people to have some fun too. Harry, said Dwayne, I have some news for you. Modern science has given us a whole lot of wonderful new colors, with strange, exciting names like red, orange, green, and pink. Harry, we're not stuck anymore with just black, gray, and white. Isn't that good news, Harry? And the state legislature has just announced that it is no longer a crime to smile during working hours, Harry. and I give you the personal promise of the governor that never again will anybody be sent to the sexual offenders wing of the adult correctional institution for telling a joke. Harry LeSabre might have weathered this all with only minor damage if only Harry hadn't been a secret transvestite. On weekends, he liked to dress up in women's clothing, and not drab clothing either. Harry and his wife would pull down the window blinds, and Harry would turn into a bird of paradise. Nobody but Harry's wife knew his secret. Harry and his wife had spent all weekend arguing about whether or not Dwayne suspected that Harry was a transvestite. They concluded that Dwayne had no reason to suspect it. Harry had never talked about women's clothes with Dwayne. He had never entered a transvestite beauty contest or done what a lot of transvestites in Midland City did, which was to join a big transvestite club over in Cincinnati. He never went into the city's transvestite bar, which was Ye Old Rat's Keller in the basement of the Fairchild Hotel. He had never exchanged Polaroid pictures with any other transvestites, had never subscribed to a transvestite magazine. Harry and his wife concluded that Dwayne had meant nothing more than what he said, that Harry had better put on some wild clothes for Hawaiian Week or Dwayne would can him. So here was the new Harry now, rosy with fear and excitement. He felt uninhibited and beautiful and lovable and suddenly free. He greeted Dwayne with the Hawaiian word, which meant both hello and goodbye. Aloha, he said. Kilgore Trout was far away, but he was steadily closing the distance between himself and Dwayne. He was still in the truck named Pyramid. It was crossing a bridge named in honor of the poet Walt Whitman. The bridge was veiled in smoke. The truck was about to become a part of Philadelphia now. A sign at the foot of the bridge said this: "You are now entering the city of brotherly love." The governor of New York, Nelson Rockefeller, shook Trout's hand in a grocery store one time. Trout had no idea who he was. As a science fiction writer, he should have been flabbergasted to come so close to such a man. Rockefeller wasn't merely governor. Because of the peculiar laws in that part of the planet, Rockefeller was allowed to own vast areas of the Earth's surface and the petroleum and other valuable materials underneath the surface as well. He owned or controlled more of the planet than many nations. This had been his destiny since infancy. He had been born into that cockamamie proprietorship. "How's it going, fella?" Governor Rockefeller asked Trout. "About the same," said Kilgore Trout. When Dwayne Hoover saw Harry LeSabre, his sales manager, in leaf green leotards and a grass skirt and all that, he could not believe it, so he made himself not see it. He leaned on Francine Peffenko's desk. He came close to telling her how sick he was. He warned her, "This is a very tough day for some reason, so no jokes, no surprises. Keep everything simple. Keep anybody the least bit nutty out of here. No telephone calls." Francine told Dwayne that the twins were waiting for him in the inner office. "Something bad is happening at the cave, I think," she told him. Dwayne was grateful for a message that simple and clear. The twins were his younger stepbrothers, Lyle and Kyle Hoover. The cave was Sacred Miracle Cave, a tourist trap just south of Shepherdstown, which Dwayne owned in partnership with Lyle and Kyle. It was the sole source of income for Lyle and Kyle, who lived in identical yellow ranch houses on either side of the gift shop, which sheltered the entrance to the cave. All over the state, nailed to trees and fence posts, were arrow-shaped signs which pointed in the direction of the cave and said how far away it was. For example, "Visit Sacred Miracle Cave, 52 miles." Lyle and Kyle sat side by side on the black leather couch in Dwayne Hoover's inner office. They looked so much alike that Dwayne had not been able to tell them apart until 1954, when Lyle got in a fight over a woman at the roller derby. After that, Lyle was the one with the broken nose. As babies in a crib, Dwayne remembered now, they used to suck each other's thumbs. Dwayne was so glad to see them now. These two little men in overalls and work shoes, each wearing a pork pie hat. They were familiar. They were real. Dwayne closed his door on the chaos outside. "All right," he said, "what's happened at the cave?" Ever since Lyle had had his nose broken, the twins agreed that Lyle should do the talking for the two. Kyle hadn't said 1,000 words since 1954. "Them bubbles is halfway up to the cathedral now," said Lyle. "The way they're coming, they'll be up to the Moby Dick in a week or two."